Good morning. Good morning, students. I hope you are excited to study composition of functions today. Yeah, so we are at part 4 of relations and function chapter, and I hope you are enjoying this chapter. So in today's class, we will discuss what is composition of functions and properties of composite functions. And have you ever thought this composition of functions हमारा किस काम में आएगा? Have you ever thought? Because many times you ask, so why are we studying this? Okay, what is the use of this in our daily lives? So let me tell you today, this composition of functions we use in our everyday life, means knowingly or unknowingly, so that we are using it. Okay, so in today's discussion, so maybe I can take one or two examples so that you really can think in how many cases, yeah, in what circumstances you use this concept. To start with, composition of functions. Suppose A, B, and C are three non-empty sets. Let f be a function from A to B and g be a function from B to C. Now the question arises, can we combine these two functions f and g to get a new function? Can we do that? Yes. Then how to combine? The most natural way to do this is to send every element x belongs to A in two stages. First stage is we apply f to x. So applying f to x means what? See, as you know, whenever we say f is a function from A to B, it means the elements of A and B are associated by a rule. So whenever we apply f to x, it means we are applying a rule to x, right? So, just for example, we have studied earlier, we have taken fx equal to 3x plus 1. So whenever we put x as input, we get output as 3x plus 1. So similarly, we can apply whatever rule is defined here. And in second stage, we apply the resultant element fx of B. It means we will have another another set C. Okay, so here again we will apply another rule. So let me take one more example, very simple example. Suppose you are in a shopping complex and you are buying some accessories at discounted prices from a particular shop. Say the discount is 20% on MRP. So you are very excited, but at the same time you have to pay 14% GST as per rule of the shop. So here, before you paying the final bill, so two stages. First stage is the salesperson will calculate selling price at the rate of 20% discount on MRP, right? And on that discounted price, he or she will calculate the amount of GST you need to pay. So it means if you consider FX, the price of the accessories after discount, and GX, price after GST. So it means you are actually combining two functions. And in mathematical language, we can say G of Fx. Okay, so that is the final cost of the accessories you have to pay, right? So still it might not be very clear. So let me go further. Another example. This example may be interesting for physics lovers, but still it's basic science, so you also can understand. So any student, whether he or she is from science or commerce background, can understand. So here you see, suppose an object undergoing uniform acceleration and to calculate speed of that object we use v equal to u plus at. Okay, and here u is the initial speed, v is speed at the time t, a is uniform acceleration, so practically u and a no change in that, so only variable you can say v which is dependent on t. It means v is a function of t, right? And if you have to calculate kinetic energy of that object where the object is in motion, so kinetic energy is half m into v square, right? And you are familiar with this formula. So but here I am going to just now link this formula concept mathematically. So here you see, whenever we see kinetic energy equal to half mv square, m is mass of the object, so again it's not variable. So kinetic energy basically depends upon velocity as per this formula, and velocity or speed whatever you are taking. So kinetic energy is function of v, v is function of t, right? So it means somehow kinetic energy can be taken as, I mean it is indirectly dependent on t. Okay, I am just repeating, kinetic energy function of v, v function of t. So it means kinetic energy can be taken as function of t, right? So these are the two examples I can give, I mean in today's class. Otherwise you can see numerous, I mean examples which know every day, whether you are in shopping mall, whether you are in playground, and wherever you are really using mathematics in this way. So just not feel wherever you are, I mean you are just now living with mathematics. Okay, now coming to the formal definition of composition of functions. See this figure. So I have taken three sets A, B and C. Okay, and also here you observe x belongs to A, y belongs to B, z belongs to C, and f is a function from A to B, g is a function from B to C. Okay, so whenever we take f is a function from A to B, so for every x belongs to A, okay, we have y equal to fx. Similarly, when g is a function from B to C, for every y belongs to B, yeah, gy equal to z. So y equal to fx, z equal to gy. It means z equal to g of fx. Okay, so this g of fx is our composition, right? So we write like this, g of f. So here you see, let f is a function from A to B and g is a function from B to C. Then composition of f and g denoted by g of f. It is a function from A to C. Okay, and g of fx is defined as g of fx for all x belongs to A. And let me just now coming back to this figure again. Whenever we write here z equal to, I mean gy, that is equal to g of fx. So it means your z equal to g of fx. So it means domain of g of f lies in set A, right? Range lies in C. So it means g of f is a mapping from A to C. Another thing you can observe, it means here you see range of f lies in B, domain of g lies in B. Okay, so next you see, whenever we have to see whether composition of two functions exist or not. So there must be some criteria. Okay, you can't, I mean, without the knowledge of domain and range, yeah, domain and codomain, you can't even know, I mean, just like that you can say function exists or not. So composite function g of f will exist only when range of f is a subset of domain of G. So as I said, range of F lies in B, right? B is codomain of F here. So range is a subset of codomain. So range is contained in set B and domain of G is taken as whole set B. So it means whatever may be the type of the function. Okay, so one thing is very clear here. Yeah, so here range of F must be a subset of domain of G. Then only your G of F will exist. And so let's visualize one more thing. I have taken here X, Y, Z, 3 sets and the elements are like this. And here you say, you see F1 equal to D. See, F is a function from X to Y, G is a function from Y to Z. So here I have not written, but it means that, just I am telling. F is a function from X to Y, G is a function from Y to Z. Okay, so these are the elements in X, then Y, then Z. So here F1 equal to D and GD equal to P. So if I write here, yeah, so GD equal to P, so this implies G of F1 equal to GD equal to P. Similarly, F2 equal to B and GB equal to Q. So it means GB means G of F2, that is equal to Q. Similarly, you can take for G of F3. Okay, so G of F1 equal to P, G of F2 equal to Q, G of F3 equal to S. So these are the, I mean, you can say condition, or you can visualize how composite function looks. And next you see, our next observation is the composite function. It is also called function of a function, or we can say resultant of two functions. Okay, so function of function, as I said in the example of kinetic energy, when V is a function of T, kinetic energy function of V. So it means kinetic energy can be taken as function of T. Okay, third observation is composition of G and F. So like we have taken G of F, that is composition of F and G. And similarly, if we take composition of G and F, we write it as F of G, right? So F of G means composition of G and F. It is defined by F of Gx equal to F of Gx. Okay, like G of Fx is G of Fx. And this is defined only when range of G is a subset of domain of F. Now the fourth observation is composition of two functions is not commutative. So let's verify this. Right, whether composition is commutative or not. It means G of F equal to F of G or G of F not equal to F of G. So I have taken two cases here. For example, F and G are functions from real number to real number. Fx equal to x square, gx equal to 2x minus 3. So if I take G of F, and obviously here G of F, F of G, both are defined because both the sets are, both the functions are from R to R. So G of F x equal to, yeah, so G of Fx is G of Fx, that is equal to G of Fx means what? X square. So G of x square. You see the rule, Gx equal to 2x minus 3. if I write here gx square, it will be 2x square minus 3. Okay, x belongs to set of real numbers. Similarly, f of gx means f of 2x minus 3. fx is x square. This is the rule for fx. So f of 2x minus 3 is whole square of 2x minus 3. So it is very clear, f of g not equal to g of f. So if I take another example, I have taken it here. F and g are functions on set of integers to set of integers, right? If I take fx equal to x plus a, gx equal to x minus a is any constant. So you may find whenever you take f of g and g of f, no, you can try this. You will be getting f of g x equal to x, g of fx is also equal to x. It means in this case g of f equal to f of g. So it means here in both the cases you have seen, in one case you are getting f of g equal to g of f, in the other case you have seen f of g not equal to g of f. So it means in general we cannot say no, it is commutative, and even if no hundreds of cases, in hundreds of cases f of g may be equal to g of f, but if in a single case both the compositions are unequal, so we can say, we can conclude g of f not equal to f of g. So in general composition of functions is not. So let's see 2-3 questions. So I have taken this question is from NCERT book. F is a function from this set 1, 3, 4. Elements are 1, 3, 4 to the set containing 1 to 5, and g is a function from the set containing 1 to 5 to set containing 1, 3, and we are given f equal to the set containing the ordered pairs 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 1. Similarly, g is another function containing the ordered pairs 1, 3, 2, 3, 5, 1. So it means we are having f1 equal to 2, f3 equal to 5, f4 equal to 1. Similarly, g1 equal to 3, g2 equal to 3, g5 equal to 1. And the question is, we have to find g of f. So as you know, when f is a function from a to b, g is a function from b to c. G of f is a function from a to c. So we have to find g of f1, g of f3, g of f4. Now g of f1 means g of f1. f1 equal to 2. So g2 means equal to 3. g of f3 means g of f3. f3 equal to 5 means here we are finding g5, that is equal to 1. And third one is g of f4 means g of f4, that is equal to g of f4 equal to 1. So g1 equal to 3. So to find g of f, it is a set of ordered pairs containing 1, 3, 3, 1, 4, 3. Is it clear? Our second question is very simple. If f is a function from R to R defined by fx equal to 5x plus 2. Okay, fx equal to 5x plus 2. Then find f of fx. So f of fx, just like f of gx, g of fx. Similarly, f of fx means f of fx. So f of fx means 5x plus 2. So when you take fx equal to 5x plus 2, and whatever you are putting, x will be replaced by that quantity here. So if you write here 3, it would be 5 into 3 plus 2. If you write 5x plus 2, then x will be replaced by 5x plus 2. So your f of fx is 5 times 5x plus 2, which is 25x plus 12 for all real values of x. A third question which has come in 2014 CBSE exam. We are given fx equal to fx equal to x square plus 2, gx equal to x by x minus 1, where x not equal to 1. Both f and g are functions from real number to real number. Find f of g, g of f, and hence find f of g2 and g of f minus 3. Okay, so first of all you have to find f of g. So f and g are functions from R to R. So obviously f of g and g of f are defined, yeah, they will exist. So f of gx equal to f of gx. Gx is x by x minus 1. So it is f of x by x minus 1. What is our fx? It is x square plus 2. Means f of this will be this square plus 2, right? So we are getting here 3x square minus 4x plus 2 divided by x minus 1 whole square, where x not equal to 1. Similarly, g of fx means g of fx, which is g of fx is replaced by x square plus 2, because we are given fx equal to x square plus 2. So g of x square plus 2. What is gx? Gx is x by x minus 1. So whatever you put in place of x, in right side x will be replaced by that quantity. So you have g of x square plus 2. So here x square plus 2 by x square plus 2 minus 1. So we are getting g of fx equal to x square plus 2 by x square plus 1 for all real values of x. And next part question, second part is f of g2 and g of f minus 3. We have to find f of g2 means f of gx equal to this much. Now f of g2 means here x will be replaced by 2. So 3 into 2 square minus 4 into 2 plus 2 divided by 2 minus 1 whole square. So we are getting 6. And g of f minus 3 is again g of fx, that is your x square plus 2 by x square plus 1. So we are getting minus 3 cos square plus 2 divided by square of minus 3 plus 1. So we are getting 11 by 10. So I hope these three questions which are very related whatever we have studied till now is clear. Okay, so next one is properties of composition of functions. So in properties of composition of functions, so first one, composition of functions is not commutative. That already we have discussed, right? We have taken that example and both the cases, no? In one case we have seen it is f of g not equal to g of f. The other case we have seen f of g equal to g of f. It means in general we can say it is not commutative. So f of g, g of f, they are not equal. So sometimes no, g of f may exist, f of g may not exist, and sometimes even if both the compositions, both f of g and g of f exist, but they may not be equal, as we have seen in our example in previous slide. And whenever the associativity comes, composition of functions is associative. It means if we consider f from a to b, g from b to c, and h from c to d, three functions, so h of g of f equal to h of g of f. So you can verify this property by taking any example. So it is not very difficult thing. Okay. So third property is, let f from a to b and g from b to c be two functions. So here I have taken two properties in fact combinedly. First one is, if both f and g are 1 1, then g of f is also 1 1. It means composition of two 1 1 functions is 1 1. And as you know, to prove function is 1 1, so we take for x1 x2 belongs to the domain set, fx1 equal to fx2 implies x1 equal to x2. We take to, this to show the function is 1 1. So here x1 x2 belongs to set A, domain of this, and g of fx1 equal to g of fx2, right? So if this, and g of fx1 means g of fx1 equal to, this is g of fx2, and we are given g is 1 1. So if the function g is 1 1, so ga equal to gb implies a equal to b. So in the same, similar concept, so we are getting here fx1 equal to fx2. We are also given f is 1 1. So fx1 equal to fx2 implies x1 equal to x2. It means g of fx1 equal to g of x2 implies x1 equal to x2. So this gives us the, clarity. G of f is 1 1. And the second part of this property is, if both f and g are onto, then g of f is onto. So here you see, for onto function we prove range equal to codomain. Or in other words, so range equal to codomain means what? Suppose for example f is a function from a to b. So if f is onto, so what should we prove? Range equal to codomain. It means for every element y belongs to b, there are preimages in A, right? So when G is onto, for every Z belongs to C, we have some preimages y belongs to B such that G y equal to Z. Similarly, F is onto, so for every y belongs to B, there are preimages in A. X belongs to A such that y equal to fx. So it means we have z equal to gy and y equal to fx. So z equal to gy, that is equal to g of fx, that is equal to g of fx. Okay, so it means z equal to g of fx means for every z belongs to C, we have preimages in A, right? So it means g of f is onto. So it means composition of two onto functions is onto. And the last property is, if f is a function from a to b and ia means identity function on a and ib, that is identity function on b. Okay, so if we are having identity functions on a and b respectively like this, then composition of the function with identity function will not change the function. So here f of ia equal to f. Similarly, ib means identity function composition f, that is also f. That means any function and identity function. Okay, so that is commutative, that is clear from here, right? I of f, yeah, f of I, and that remains, function remains unchanged. Okay, so these are the some of the properties for the time being. Okay, so in next class we will be studying invertible functions, and which is also very important from exam point of view and also very interesting. And in invertible function we will study how by using these properties of composite functions we can find function is invertible, and also if the function is bijective, by using 1 1 onto concept we can also find function is invertible. Okay, and this invertible function, it will really help us to understand the principal value branches of inverse trigo functions, right? Yeah, very basics of inverse trigo functions. So let's remain excited. Let's look forward for our next class, right? And thank you so much for your attention and for your patience. Okay, so let's meet in our next class to study invertible functions. Thank you once again.